Okay, round one, Arnold Invitational. I mean, overall, I think it was what we probably expected. It looked like the course was playing pretty firm, pretty fast. Just looking at the leaderboard, the standout round was obviously Daniel Berger. I mean, to go bogey free at Bay Hill is pretty impressive, especially yesterday when it was playing so fast on the greens and playing pretty long with some of the wind swirling, especially on the back nine. Pretty great shot there. Otherwise, yeah, we said Colin Morikawa will probably do well this weekend. He had a good round. I watched some of his play. He was tugging a few. I think this is where he puts it in the water. No, it's not. He, yeah, he had a good round. He definitely finished well as well. Eagle on the par 5, 16th. That's really good. I mean, his iron play looked really good. He was, he's got that slightly steeper swing, so he is more likely to pull than he was before. More likely to hit slightly pull shots, but yeah, good round from him. Definitely, I'd say he's probably my pick then for the weekend. Ludwig Oberg, I mean, he's had a bit of an interesting start to the year. Bit of a strange one. He swings so simply that you always think he's going to shoot 2 or 3 under every time he hits a golf club, but swings a golf club, but hasn't been that way. But yesterday it looked like he had a great round. I watched the end of his round, and his putting stroke looks really good. I think that was the one thing I noticed. His irons are always good, aren't they? Really, he always seems to. He's got such a neutral path. Can hit fades, can hit 1 yard draws, either or. I mean, could have easily been a 64. Really, into the water on 11, and then just a bit wayward on 10. But I mean, a great round. I think he'd be really happy with that. To be fair, he's the kind of player that would do well here. He's good at approach play. His long irons are really good. I watched a clinic by Titleist on his long iron play recently, and yeah, I think obviously he's a swing that a lot of people study for his simplicity. So he's one to watch. Jonathan Vegas, he often has these good first rounds. Honestly, I don't see him contending towards the back end of the weekend. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I always feel like I see him at the top of these leaderboards quite early on, and then he just doesn't seem to hold up come the rest of the weekend. But he is obviously a great golfer, and that's a great round. Ooh. Yeah, elsewhere, some good rounds. Cameron Young. I mean, he's a premium ball striker, isn't he? So you would expect that he might do well somewhere like Bay Hill. Um, he can be a little bit streaky with a putter, but that's a really strong round. Really good to see Adam Scott shoot at 68. I mean, again, approach play, that's one of Adam's strengths. Super neutral swing, something he's been really good at. So that's a great round. I was looking for, the big players. Scheffler got 2 under, which, as we were saying yesterday, that's pretty good for Scheffler, to be honest, for a Thursday round this year. He has been off on Thursdays. He's been known to make a few too many bogeys. I mean, I watched him. He was going a bit long on some of the greens and having to chip and putt back onto the greens. But yeah, all in all, pretty good round. I think he'd be happy with that. And I mean, I'm sure he will be right up the leaderboard come Saturday probably. Elsewhere, I mean, a lot of scrapping around par. I watched a bit of Jordan Spieth round. He was scrapping around as he always is. Never makes it look easy. Denny McCarthy had some great wedge play again, what he always does. Sepp Straka was my pick. Didn't actually see any of his round. Looks like the 11th took it out of him a bit. Perhaps a bit of short game issues, but yeah, he was my pick. I mean, 72 is not terrible around here. I think it was playing hard, especially the later tee times. Looked like the wind was swelling a bit more, and they were having a harder time holding the greens because they looked absolutely rock solid and really, really quick. I watched a fair bit of McIlroy's round, and that was the story for him. I felt like he was hitting it pretty well. Obviously, 13 is not great, but I mean, the greens were just so fast. Anything landing on them was rolling off. And one thing I was going to talk about is we could see yesterday that they've reclaimed some of the rough. So this used to be rough in the years gone by, and they've trimmed it back and made it now a runoff area, sort of like Pinehurst number two. That's what it reminded me of from the US Open a few years ago. And that basically means, if you're unless you're either hitting something high and spinny or bouncing something up, if it's landing here with a mid iron, it was very often, almost always rolling off the back into this collection area, and then you've got a really difficult chip, often downhill, um, to try and stop the ball quickly, which honestly people were struggling with. McIlroy was struggling with him. His short game did look good. I think he did well to scrap around in even par, all things considered, but he'll probably be slightly disappointed. He leads the PGA Tour in approach play, so I think he probably would have wanted to do slightly better. Otherwise, a few people struggled. Shane Lowry from last weekend, you kind of wondered how he might come out. Yeah, I don't know if mentally probably still a little bit shell shocked from last week at the Bear Trap, but I watched a bit of his round. Again, it wasn't too bad. I didn't feel like it was terrible. Just tough conditions and struggling a little bit. Matt Fitzpatrick, I think he'll be disappointed. He was one of my picks for this weekend. I think I didn't actually see any of the round, but it's clearly he's struggling with the conditions a little bit. And then the two returners, Sung Jae Im plus 476, probably to be expected. Again, not a terrible round. 17th, giving him a fair bit of trouble, two balls in the water, which yeah, it's not amazing, but first round back, Tommy Fleetwood, that's disappointing for him. I think he would have wanted to really contend this weekend. That's clearly not going to happen. Be looking just to make the cut, to be honest, come Sunday, and then JT, and I think that's not, all things considered, it's not a terrible round. There's some birdies in it. I saw some of the iron play. It looked, as crisp as it always does. JT's so good with the wedge because he's so neutral through the ball. There's not a lot of head dipping. It's just a turn move. It works really well for the wedge play. I think it was the 14th I watched, and he looks really good, but I think maybe struggling slightly off the tee, a little bit of rust here and there. Yeah, maybe a bit of wedge play rust as well. I mean, I would imagine he'll iron that out as he gets grooving again. But yeah, 79 for him. I think he said this week is really just about getting back into the flow of it and just trying to make sure he's hitting the ball well again before he can really think about competing. Yeah, I mean, takeaways really from the first round. I mean, there wasn't loads of wind when I started to watch, but I know it did start to swirl later on. I mean, it looks hard. The course looks so difficult. And I mean, the greens look rock solid, really, really quick, looking like Augusta. I saw a fair amount of players like Scheffler I watched, and think JT and Justin Rose I watched putting off the green, which, you wouldn't really expect someone like Scheffler to do that because he's so good with a wedge. But I think that's just testament to how difficult the greens in the runoff areas are. The other thing was the rough. I said this in the preview, but the rough really does look like it's pretty penal, and looks like if you've got to hit the fairway really to be making birdies. Otherwise, you are really, really scrapping. I was looking at Scheffler, and he can come down quite steep, Scheffler. So when he needs to, which can be helpful to get out the rough. But he was hacking some serious beaver pelts out the first and second cuts. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens today. I mean, where do we think the cut line's going to be? Hmm, not sure. Maybe about +1, maybe even. We'll see. But yeah, should be a good day, to be fair. I mean, I'd be surprised if Berger went on to win it, but I mean, if he pulls two of them together, he very much could do. I would say, yeah, Colin, Ludwig. I would love for Adam Scott to win it. Um, I mean, Xander, it was a good round from him. I mean, it's fairly open. Corey Connors, he's a great ball striker. This is the kind of place that could suit him, to be fair. And these two smooth swingers. Yeah, we'll just see. But I think it's obviously still very, very open. We'll obviously see what Scheffler does as well come the weekend. But yeah, looking forward to it. That's all.